Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, hitting the notifications button so you'll get notified about new videos every day. Thank you also for joining us on our second channel, The Inspired Newsroom, here on YouTube. All right, let's dive into it. Here's a story that I didn't know I was going to share with you. And it really began about 10 days ago. Christine and I, together with our daughter, took a trip we had taken many times before, and something very strange happened. And it set this whole chain of events in motion. We're driving the same route we'd always taken. It's about a 7.5-hour trip, sometimes 8 hours, that's tops. And as we were driving, we had these weird experiences. Later on, as we arrived at our destination, I said it felt like we were driving through a different dimension, something has shifted. And what we had realized shortly before we arrived at our destination is that we had lost 1 hour that we cannot account for. We have no idea how that hour got lost. It makes no sense, not on a GPS, nowhere. It's just a lost hour. So it took us 9 hours, which is never, there was no traffic, there's nothing. Everything was just like it always was, except for this weird notion that we had driven through a different dimension. And I thought, okay, let's let this go. We're here. We're going to do our thing. And a couple days later, my son drove down here. And as he arrived late at night the next morning, we talked. And he said to me, Dad, it felt like I was driving through a different dimension. It was so weird. And that's where using the exact same words, which are not usually part of his vocabulary, was just, okay, something is going on here. Over the next days, I've observed something very strange, and it was almost like the Matrix, if you will, and I'm going to go into that in a moment. It was almost like this artificial structure, whatever is imposed upon us, this grid, is failing on us. I've been observing the horizon, and sometimes it felt like the horizon was almost dropping, like it couldn't sustain itself anymore. I would see weird things all around me, not least a vehicle just yesterday that literally had MK Ultra on their license plate. It was very, very strange, but many strange occurrences. Okay, so then I'm watching stories developing in the world. I'm seeing what other people are reporting, and I feel like we're going through a collective near-death experience here, and I'm going to get into what I mean by that. And for that, I have to rewind 10, 15 years ago. Because what I did in the last days, I went back and read in books and notebooks from years and years ago. And I realized that I had the feeling that I had inside of me was starting to make sense as I was reading this. Because what I was reading was, we were on a different trajectory. 15 years ago, we were on a much different trajectory. Yes, there were really big problems in the world, but there was a organic, beautiful timeline emerging, and it was getting stronger, stronger, stronger. And I remember feeling that. And then some people say it was 2012. Some people say it was CERN. I really don't know what the thing was, but something shifted us. And I believe that whatever this matrix is that we experience around us, I believe it was either upgraded, improved, superimposed. Something like that must have happened, because it almost catapulted us on this dystopian timeline instantly. And a lot of people have these weird memory shifts about that whole time period where nothing adds up, nothing makes sense. And here's what I believe is happening. Even though we have been on this dystopian timeline where everything around us just has gone completely crazy, what I see is, I believe with the raising of the frequency and the consciousness, we are disabling this technological matrix all around us. We're disturbing it so heavily, this is my theory, that it is beginning to crumble. I see weird glitches in the matrix all around me, weird conversations. I see people that I met yesterday and they walk up to me today again, and we have the exact same conversation, re-meeting each other. But it is bizarre, absolutely bizarre. I think the matrix is glitching. And this is what we could call a near-death experience, because I believe we're in the veil, stepping back again, pushing through the veil, stepping back again. We're in this back and forth movement. It cannot be really explained, but so many of you are experiencing this. Reality seems even more surreal than it used to. This is what I'm seeing. We're piercing through this veil. And if we are brave enough to continue to walk now, we will walk right through this near-death experience. And I believe we will lift the veil of darkness soon. This might be months, years. I don't know what soon means, but it feels like we're very, very close. At the same time, We have to be brave and courageous because as this matrix is crumbling, I believe some very weird shit will happen. Stuff that is inexplicable. There could be this idea that it's all just projected. It's all just fake. It's all just orchestrated, but I don't believe it is. I believe they're having a hard time holding this matrix up. Storylines are collapsing. They're kind of like just collapsing in and of itself. They're disappearing. People that shouldn't be here are reappearing. They're making appearances in weird parts of the world. I mean, I just saw Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, go to Ukraine. He looked very different than recently. Actors are reappearing, the storyline, and I believe it is simply like an emergency program that they're currently setting in place because they're losing control. And they're losing control because more and more of us are being in touch with the real true self, with our divine spark. I've talked about this. This is what this all revolves around. All of this is just a consistent flashing arrow that points within. This is where the truth is. We can't even really fight our way out of this. We have to transform our way out of this and through this. And this is what we're seeing happening. So for the last couple of days, the sky was literally almost dropping on me. The colors are so different. The sounds are different. I feel like a lot of people around me are literally just robots or biorobots. And that is something that I want to touch on too before I end this here. You have these people that are awakening, going, starting, doing. I mean, anything really helps. And then you have a large group of people that are going even more into the extremes. Drinking, doing drugs, eating excessively, ignoring everything around them, just numbing themselves. They are literally committing suicide gradually by the day, and that must be okay for us too. We must accept that that's the way it is. We cannot really bring everyone with us anyway, so that's not how this is going to work. They are going to fall away from our reality. I just wanted to talk about this because I noticed that a lot of people are noticing it. You can't put their finger on it, but that's what I think is happening. I believe the matrix is glitching, crumbling, and we just need to keep going through this. There's no turning back now. Full self-reliance, full self-responsibility, full taking action, inspired action. We got this, but we need to keep walking, okay? If the moon drops, literally drops, know that we still have to keep walking. If the sun, for some reason, doesn't rise or set the way it's supposed to, we have to keep walking. You cannot stop and go into panic. If a spaceship appears in front of you, keep walking. I'm not saying ignore these things, but keep walking, keep going in faith and trust. Do not allow fear and panic come in. That's about the only card they have left, to continue to raise fear and panic. And if we do not give in, we win. Victory is ours. This is what's been coming through for me. I know this sounds crazy, but this is what we're in it right now. So thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll be back with you again very soon.